We are listening. Right. Give us 2 seconds and we'll do
It's a responsibility. This is the first time you've done this. It's normally Kevin.
Just not. There we are.
Oh, we are live.
We are live.
Right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Community and Planning Committee. All Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of the Woodford Park. Right. Item 1, apologies. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, we've had apologies from councillors Bragg and Sartor.
Very much. And do we have any declarations of interest? As far as the committee membership, would you please note that Councillor Cheng has resigned from the Planning and Community Committee, and a replacement is due to be appointed at the next meeting of the full council to be held on the 5th of December. Item 4, minutes of the Planning and Community Committee held on the 17th of October is on page 7. Are you happy for me to approve those minutes, or are there any amendments that need to be made? Oh, okay, I will then sign them as true record. Thank you. Item 5, actions and follow-ups. This is to review the action and follow-ups of previous meetings. You've got to.
I can just give a little, just because it's the first time we brought this to this meeting. For anyone who's in leisure services all last week, it's obviously after Councillor Taylor's suggestion at a previous meeting to try and introduce actions and follow-ups from previous meetings into our agenda. So what I've done is, for all the committees, I've gone back through the meeting minutes from this municipal year and pulled out anything that was an action that required an update, where that update hadn't already been presented at a previous meeting. So for all the old meetings, I've just tried to capture the things that hadn't been updated since then. Obviously listing the minute, the action, and then noting the progress. The intention is obviously that at the end of at the next meeting, the same list will be presented with all the completed items and new items adding on. So as I did last week, I don't propose to go through all of the items individually where they're completed. Hopefully you'll have read all of those. What I will do is on the last page, on page 17, draw your attention to really the last 5 items. So 94.1, which is to consider actions needed for the strategy for cycling to achieve that. That's included in the agenda tonight. We have speed watch equipment and the speed watch page on the website. We have no update on that at the moment, and we may get that later on, or we may not, but that will remain on there till then. 94.3, we need an update on that one.
I can give you that. I brought this to the attention of the council last meeting, and it's really to concern of the public over the parking outside of Rivermead School in Addington Gardens. The person who came to me, the member of the public who came to me, actually lives in my ward, so that's why I took it on. But because the school is out of my ward, I wasn't able to present it at the council meeting or the Woking Council. So I asked the ward councillor, Charlie, to do it on my behalf, and he presented this. He asked the executive member for active travel if he could make some actions, and they're going to meet with the highways officers at the school to see what can be done to solve the problem. But the suggestion was with zigzag lines or something like this. Obviously, the double yellow lines are not working particularly well there. So we're waiting to hear what the result is of that meeting. But it was brought to the attention of the full council of Woking Borough.
Would you like that to remain on there until we?
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
Until it comes to conclusion, yes, yes.
Absolutely, that's wonderful. And then item 95, minute 95, was to, the committee agreed to await the revised Woking Borough Council street cleaning and grounds maintenance plan before considering response to their consultation. We had an update from Woking Borough Council who confirmed they will not be proceeding with the plans to remove 150 public litter bins following consultation. Other cost-saving measures will go ahead, including changes in the frequency of street sweeping, cleaning around bottle bags and weed spraying, which they estimate will save around £600,000 over 3 years. They also plan to save £100,000 by reducing grass cutting in public areas from 6 aeroplats to 4, excluding play parks and amenity areas. So really, following that response, it's for the committee, I believe, to consider whether they wish to submit any response or provide no comment at this time to that consultation.
Okay, any comments at all? Anybody on those items?
I'll just say thank you. I think it's really helpful, and also for pushing the insulation, Great Britain insulation thing onto our website. I noticed that that was picked up as well. Our cost of living gift.
Right, we come on to item 6, current planning applications on page 19. And we will start. The first part of the application, and actually I think we can do the first 3 together, 232, 386, 390 and 400, all relating to the Silver Fox Crescent tennis courts. This has been before us before, and I think it's just a few conditions that have been added, and I think unless there are any comments that anybody wishes. Yes, Carol.
Yes, thank you. We have had it before. I can understand that they want to change, have a condition on phasing because it's going to be self-built in future years. But it said in the information that the phasing would, you could find that in the construction method statement, which I looked at and I couldn't find it. So it doesn't seem, there was an awful lot to read through and I probably missed it. But it wasn't clear as to what sort of phasing there will be. Are they expecting, do they want a 2-year phase, 3-year phasing, or whatever? I don't know if anybody else managed to read through it, but I wondered if it's, you could find it out.
Yes, we could actually make that inquiry. Yes. Follow that up, Kathleen.
Got more details on that?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other points?
Just to endorse that, I couldn't find it either. I couldn't work out what the phasing thing was about.
Okay. Right, application 2325.
Councillor, just about on those 3 points, obviously we need to provide a comment. The deadline will be either short or will pass. Just for a quick look, just see what the I think the deadline for 2 of them was already passed. One of them is due to the 16th.
Right.
I suggest no objection.
Objections, yeah. Okay. Right, application 232533, 29A, 29A Western Avenue, Woodley. It's a full application erection for a single-storey front extension to an existing workshop. This is retrospective. And looking at the plans for this one, it looks like a commercial use, but it's just a piece to be added to the front of it. And it doesn't seem to be causing any problems with neighbours or anything.
Can't see it from the road. So
No.
That's behind the house.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So unless anybody else has any comments to the contrary? No. We're fine, yeah, okay. Good. Right. 232539, 12 Grace Crescent, household application, the direction of a single-storey rear extension. Again, another retrospective. I couldn't see any great issues with this one. I don't know whether anybody else has got anything that they wish to add to it. Otherwise, no comment, no objections. Okay. 61 Quentin Road, household application for the proposed erection for first floor side extension. I think, where are we? Yeah, I had difficulty. I couldn't see the site plan for this one, but it was there apparently, but I couldn't find it. Yes, Carol?
It is a two-story, but in fact it's well set back. So
Yes.
if there's any danger of terracing effect and little impact on the neighbour, so I was quite, no objection to that.
Right. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? No? Okay. Good. 232557, 19 Blanchard Close. This one again has been before us previously, and I have previous refusal on this one. I think, is it? Got some notes here somewhere. If I made. Blanchard. Yeah, previous application in relation to this land was within the last 5 years. Certificate of lawfulness application not subject to consultation, but I don't know that there's any great issues with this, is there? Okay, no, okay. No objections. 232620, The Point, London Road, Wokingham. Now, this is for the full application for proposed erection of a cafe and drive-through with associated parking, landscaping and access, following the demolition of 2 existing dwellings and change to the existing parking layout. This one's quite an interesting one. I think, have we got the plans? I think it might be worth just having a look at these.
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
I mean, these are, if you look at Shepherd's Hill, these are in the roundabout in the middle. I think we've got 3 units there, commercial units, that are already there, and this is going to be the demolition of one. I knew there was 1 house, I think 2, but there is 2. So, for obviously a Starbucks drive-through. So, yes, Carol, did you?
Yes, I was concerned on highways grounds, but we've lost that argument. I'm sure highways are happy to have said yes to what's there already. My issue, and I'm glad we've got the plan up there, is that the idea that cars will come in at the top there, off of the motorway,
Yes.
off of the roundabout,
Yes.
down past the cafe, turn right, and then follow around behind the cafe to queue up for drinks. And so there'll be cars coming in. So,
I think they're coming through this top.
they are, yes.
That's no entry at the moment.
Because it's a one-way system around the.
That's the arrows that were shown on the plan.
So is it you can come in that way?
Yes.
No, you can't.
Because it's going around that way, it's a double way. What plan was that on? Is that on a?
Oh, I don't know.
Google Earth will show the, I'm sure,
It is a one-way system,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean you couldn't, if they allow it, turn right into that. But you're right, that, the plan that,
But I think regardless of that, what's going to happen is that you're going to have huge cars queuing up next to the residential properties on the left. And that's going to create pollution,
You can't turn
lights
right
and
there.
disturbance.
Not that curve right there.
And I think that means that we need to be very careful about the boundary treatment on that side. They're just talking about shrubs, but I think to protect those neighbours on the left as we're looking at it. they're
Well,
all
over here,
experienced.
these here.
Yes, or 711 and then one at the top. That there ought to be some better boundary treatment, fencing, something that's going to stop the lights flashing through. Don't know that we can do much about the pollution, but I think it is not the nicest thing to have next to your property or your garden.
yeah, so they reverse this, so it's upside down from what
Oh,
that
is that
is. So it is coming in, that's the, what would be the southern end, and then
Yes,
heading out the northern end, so that kind of, which I believe is the route that already passed.
Yes,
Those units, yeah.
How busy is it gonna get? Because that's pretty fast road for coming out of.
Already is.
Yeah, it goes from there to the
It
A4.
already is,
Got to get out quick.
and there's lots of problems up there already.
But you've got
With
vehicles
getting
coming out from the car park where the dry cleaners are,
Yeah.
on the other side of the road. They're coming out, you join the double exit there. So,
I cross there quite often, because I walk that way into Reading, and it's take your life in your hands, isn't it, anyway, now?
Even though there's a Pelican Crossing, it's still,
yeah, if I use them.
I think you're gonna have problems coming round the roundabout and going in as well, because people are queuing out. There are gonna be cars with their backs out, and then you've also got people that are gonna be in that right-hand lane to go to BP.
yeah.
So you've got,
Right opposite that,
Yeah.
you've got the right hand lane to
so
turn
I've
into
got concerns for
BP.
those.
So really, the concerns we've got is mainly over pollution and noise, are you, Carol?
Yes, Julie had her hand
Oh,
up.
sorry.
Yes, about the queuing, I mean, in the analysis, I mean, they've done some analysis and they reckon there'd be a maximum of 9 cars in a queue and it wouldn't sort of be an issue. But you'll note that, one of the, yeah, but what I'm saying is it won't be poking out onto the gyration system. But one of the neighbours had flagged about accidents that they have on the gyratory system, and they did provide some information on that. And it's for they call them slight accidents in 5 years. But what concerned me were 2 of them were cyclists that were injured, and one was a motorcyclist. And you think, well, you know, with cyclists, you always think it's just a matter of chance, really, if they've got knocked off a bike, whether they're going to get hurt. So, but the highway team have said they're comfortable with it. But
When those teenagers in a car killed, when one was killed, that was just to delete the generator.
It's further round, yeah.
Okay, so as far as we are concerned, it's really a highways problem, access and exit problems. And also your concern over noise and pollution.
I think we can't object, or we could object to it, but we know they're going to ignore that because of highways. But I think we should ask if they are minded to approve it, then there should be conditions about improving the safety of pedestrians on the entrance and exit from that area, and also that the boundary treatment is sufficient to protect the gardens and houses on that side. I mean, I think shrubs would suck up the pollution a bit, but it's lights and it's the noise, and I think that's that should be looked at.
On that exit point, are there actually no entry signs there to stop people coming in? I've not noticed.
There are at the moment.
There are?
Yeah.
Oh, right, that's all right, because I would imagine, somebody tried to go in that way and.
No, definitely no
No,
entries.
you can't,
You can't, right, there is no entry.
you can't, it's a one-way system.
Yeah, but you could actually.
You could turn right,
You could turn
back.
right into it, but
but
there
there
is
are
a
no
sign.
entries.
Yeah, right. okay.
Guarantee that, yeah.
Right, so that's the conditions or the comments that we have. Are there any others that we want to make on that?
We
But are we-
obviously, is it Starbucks?
You said it.
I feel no. I mean, it's going to affect independent trade down in town. Well,
Yeah.
probably not. But you've got Wurzels or Wendels or whatever it's called opposite.
You've got the BP.
And yeah, and Costa. And that's a good example of how traffic does stack up.
And this cost in the BP is.
Yes.
It's just.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
So we don't
do
really
we
need it.
really need another takeaway on that junction?
Well, I would disagree. I think we need something on that junction, but just not Starbucks.
Okay.
That's my personal view.
Costa there instead.
I'll just wait for the kids to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we can object to on that view. Yeah, I suppose really it is just the highways issue and safety pedestrians.
Would you like me to state that that's a significant concern of the committee, or that the committee would like to object on those grounds?
Would you think object?
I would like to object on those grounds, and I still think coming out of that exit to go to on the A4 London Road towards Twyford, I think coming out of there, the speed people come off the roundabout, I think there's going to be crash after crash after crash.
But I think you probably can't argue it, Bob, because at the moment there are industrial units there. And if they were busier, then there would still be that flow of
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah, I think if you count, I don't know, 10 cars an hour going out of it now, you'll be counting 60 cars an hour going out of it as a property place.
But if we all drunk more Majestic wine, there'd be more of us going out there hourly anyway, so
And you might argue if there were more things coming out,
People would
actually
be-
would
the
take
chances
care.
are.
Would take more
Majestic
care.
one
but-
then.
Hmm?
It's
So,
majestic
are we
one
objecting
then.
or are we just?
Need to go around.
I don't know, that's-
There seems to be enough
Yeah, drop me off
concern
the-
about the
Come with you.
highways.
I'll come
Do you want to show?
Whether or not Woking and
Two down, 3
consider those grounds and or not, or just take highways, whether or not it's.
We just
I
take.
don't think, I don't think that's a reason for us not to object. I prefer we'll object on those grounds. Yeah, good.
Yeah, if we could just flag as well, yeah, that
Yeah.
the cyclists have been, you know, overrepresented in the people injured, it just,
Right, okay. Next one is 232627, 31 Arundel Road. Household application for single-storey rear extension, single-storey front extension, create porch conversion of garage to habitable accommodation along with first floor extension above the existing garage. There's been quite a considerable building alteration to this one, I think. So any comments on that one?
Lots of people have done it already.
yeah.
It's not really left, is there?
No, no, no. Where are we? Did I have anything on that one? 31. Arundel? No, not really. It's not really, I don't know. Are there any comments? Bit overbearing, perhaps.
It's only along there done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't pick out on one category.
No. Okay. 232644, 16 Butts Hill Road, household application for proposed erection of block wall and entry gates to accompany existing piers. When I looked at this one, the only concern I had is that if these gates are closed, that the car entering there would be across the pavement and possibly into the road before the gates can be opened, or even if they're electric gates, there could be that vehicle. If you look at the plan, the gates are right on the edge of the boundary of the property.
Yeah.
So a car entering there would actually be waiting on the pavement. I'm wondering whether the gates perhaps could be put further into the property rather than right on the boundary. But that's the only thing I saw that was a concern. You see, you've got the drawing there, yeah.
It says existing piers. Where are the
They're existing piers, yeah, they're there, but of course, with a pier, you just drive straight in. When you put gates on it, to my mind, you're going to be sat there waiting for somebody to either open the gates or for the gates to operate if they're electric, for that reason.
It's a scale.
How much room is there on the drive, the gates?
No, it's strong.
Straight off the pavement.
That's the sign plan, the
Yeah.
black, these pillars are already here, it's just this very light purple, that's the gates indicate that it's going to be added to it, but that's the highway shown there.
Yeah, and from the gates to the property.
Quite
Oh,
large.
that's
quite a
what-
That's
distance,
quite a bit.
Yeah, there's plenty of room there.
Yeah,
I think the problem you're quite right is that if you have to wait for the gates to open, you'll actually be in the road. I
yes.
don't think you'll actually be on the pavement at all because
Yeah.
they're so far forward, as you say. So I again would agree with you on that. I've also got another, not objection, but I don't think it's in sync with the rest of the houses on Western, Buttsville Road. Some have got gates, but not as palatial.
Right.
The existing here as well as the wall. They can put
They can put a wall
They're gonna
across
do
as well.
that. Well, there are other ones down the road. It's not the
It's the
aesthetics
gates,
really.
I don't like the
It's sad
fence.
to lose a tree, but
So, are there any other objections to that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that there's the property? So the gates are going to be there.
So there's just enough room for a car to get his backside off
Possibly
the
just on
road,
the
isn't there?
pavement, yeah.
Just enough.
Isn't it?
They extended this out, gates further in.
Plenty of room.
Can we make that point? you know, we feel that it could cause an obstruction on the.
Yeah, move the pillars in,
And the road.
move the pillars in a further 3 metres perhaps.
They just had those pillars put in. That'd be expensive.
Happy to work.
Right. Any other points? No? Okay. We come on to 232686, 85 Western Avenue. Household application was proposed single-storey side extension, two-storey rear extension with Juliet balcony, along with changes to fenestration. Conversion of the garage to a store and workshop. Also an air source heat pump installed to the rear of the dwelling and solar panels on the main roof elevation. Anybody have any comments on that one?
I think one of the residents made the same comment several times, if I remember correctly. There's to do with window.
About the windows.
Yeah.
on the side.
I think that was the only thing that.
Yeah, you obscure glass in the window.
Yeah, translucent, yeah. So, and the residents said they were happy with the planning.
Right, yes, that's right. So we will endorse the neighbouring comments, yeah. Other than that, no. Okay. Right, we come on to the last one, 232688, 22 Tiger Close, household application of the proposed erection, first floor side and rear extensions, single story front extension, plus single story outbuilding, changes to landscaping, following the conversion of existing garage to form habitable space. There's been objections from 2 neighbours, I think, right, so number 20, this is 22, they've had objections from 23. I'm not sure the other one is not, is it to the rear, isn't it?
I think they're both, Rose Close.
Rose Close, yes. No number to it, but it's in that particular road and it's.
That's it.
Yes. Have you all had a chance to read the resident objections?
When did they post the objections? Because I haven't seen them.
They emailed them to us.
Yeah.
Following the letter I sent, and obviously, yeah, I think this is one of the last applications that I received before adding it on, so they'll receive their letter over this weekend.
So from a planning point of view, can you, I know you can object to light if a building's so far, you've got angles and things, but can you object just because it's blocking the sun?
No.
Is the sun your light?
Well, not from the distances on this plan, you come out of it. If you look on that plan there, properties are a good distance away, they won't fall foul from there. But, I don't
Are they
think,
objecting to the extension, which is like pretty big, but, or is it the garage over the,
loss of light,
the that's the bottom of the garden?
Sunlight sitting out in the garden, enjoying their garden. And
Yeah, but the sun
area.
changes position, so you couldn't argue that.
It's all about the light and the shadow in their gardens, isn't it? For the type 2023 Rose Close, that's what they're objecting to.
23, I think that's 23 there.
That's 23. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
Well, I suppose they said bottom gun, that's what they're saying, it's to obscure the light there. So,
I think if you look at the borough design guidelines, that distance is well, you know,
yeah,
yes.
ample, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the other was, we said was 23, wasn't it? Tiger Close? Was
I
it
think it was Rose Close.
They're both Rose
It was
Close.
Rose Close, the other one didn't indicate.
Oh, yeah, Rose
The other
Close,
one
23,
didn't
no.
indicate their right address.
Yeah. Right. What do we think? Do we just make a comment that to be mindful of the comments of the neighbours, you know, do they consider it, or?
We want to highlight those as they were sent to us.
Yeah.
It's been a response to that for them, don't we, to say it's very.
Okay, everybody else happy with that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right, that's it. So. Well, sorry. Yeah.
we take that out again.
next item, which is planning decisions. To note the information received from the planning authority since the last meeting. So page 21, I've not really had a good look at that, I must admit. A bit slow today. Any comments on that? Does anybody got while I go to the page?
Oh, except the only thing, note to selves, not to use unneighbourly in any of our objections, because they said that's not a valid planning reason.
Did we use it?
One of them.
Legally is definitely been on list, it's definitely been a list of approved comments.
Well, it was on, I think it was 232023.
It can't be the only reason, but it certainly should be one of them.
Yeah, well, there were, if we put a number in and it was, yes, and they said unneighbourly is not
No.
valid. And,
Okay.
okay.
Which road? Buckle Gardens. Yeah, 3 went against our proposals, didn't they? We refused and they approved. Otherwise, improving the Dawson Town Councils and Dawson Town Councils, yeah. Not too bad, but we lost 3. Okay. Back. Right, tree preservation orders, application of works of trees. Have you any comments on any of those, if you know of them? Right, page 23, budgetary control. Do you have any?
No, so just for new members to this committee specifically, the planning budget is all spent on annual grants and they're paid out generally twice a year. So the amount they get given is split into 2 payments, unless the amount they get given is particularly low, in which case we give it all in one drop. You know, normally with committee, budgetary control comes twice a year, once in about May, once in November when that payment is done. So this just shows that 100% of grants are now all paid. Okay. Yes, Carol.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just go backwards a bit. Is it me? How would you lift a crown? I can understand that you'd cut and reduce the crown, but to lift it between the ground level, you've either got to dig down or make it go quickly. Is that true?
This is the 854.
Yes, any of
Ground
those.
depth to 2.5 metres ground level, remove deadwood greater than 25 millimetres.
You lower the crown because you're trimming it.
How do you can't encourage growth, can you?
No,
Unless it's cutting the bottom bits off,
To
it's not a
encourage
crown
growth.
then, is it?
and then the crown is, I don't know,
Just
technical term.
side straight on to it. Anybody's got any ideas?
That's,
Because the bottom branch is in it, and that lifts it.
It's a funny way to put it.
Almost as though you've got some magic way of
So
increase the growth.
jacking it up a bit. Sorry, I took
Okay.
it.
I thought I was in a time warp then, Carol. I'm just Googling what crown lift actually means.
What it does.
I was at St George's Chapel yesterday,
Yeah.
and wonderful place to be.
No.
Wonderful place to be.
What is crown? Crown lifting is removal of lower branches to lift the height of the
No,
ground.
it's
It offers many benefits to property owners.
What to be able to.
Yes, the removal of the lower branches to lift the height of the crown space.
So if you're removing those,
Yeah.
the crown's there and you take those
It's
off.
I can see what they're doing, but
Yeah.
it's the words they've used.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm a steward there, but.
Well, no, I was talking to John, 90.
Right, some 10 street trading consent, the following applications. Street trading consent received by the Rockingham Borough Council. One's in Spencer's Wood, one's in Swallowfield, we've got South Lake, that's the trading sites in South Lake. I think this one we discussed.
Oh, yes, the pizza man, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 8:30. Sorry?
By email, we
Yeah.
spoke
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
So I collated obviously the responses I did receive before the deadline. Councillor Guthrie did send through some comments after the deadline ran out, it's already been sent. But that in italics on the agenda is what we sent through.
So I would quite welcome the opportunity to chat to you guys about this, because I was in sort of two minds about it, but I'm a bit worried we're going to end up with multiple things. Sadly.
Okay, and the other one is the application of Leslie 26 Mo's Kebabs, which has been there an awfully long time, as far as I know.
Since we were at university, I think. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
In Bournemouth University, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think there's any problems there, was there?
That's good.
Yeah, and the other one is the ST71, David and Caroline Philo, Aurora's Cultures Coffee, moving to nearby pitches in wet weather.
It's
This
a much
is the
better
one we-
position he's in now.
It is.
You don't have to traipse across the mud.
Oh, right. So we're quite happy with that one, no? Okay. Right, that to be that, the payment license, the following application, payment license received, Bosco's Lounge. And I think this is just a renewal, isn't it?
Yes, private payment licenses generally last for 12 months, and we often see these come back through just for renewal with no changes at all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, draft licensing policy. The note the Wokingham Borough Council are updating their statement of licensing policy. Consultation on the draft updated policy is running until 8th of January 2024, 48 hours, and the consultation will be found on the below link. So anybody wishes to have a look at that, see what we're actually doing as far as the licensing policy is concerned.
I've read it all.
You've read it all.
And I mean, we have the opportunity, I mean, I can send this in as a personal comment, but it's whether we want to comment on it at all. And if we did, would we use the electronic method?
We can do, yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've got a bit of sort of an issue around that. I mean, I've got some suggestions how they ought to present this, because there's a lot of really useful information in there. What it doesn't explain in the introduction is how a business would use that. And from what I can make out, as part of applying, you have to draft what they call an operating schedule. And my understanding of this is basically it identifies all the possible things you might need to consider in your kind of licensing application. And you can basically pick the ones that you think you need and whack them all into this operating schedule. And then also look at what you would have to do as a business in order to support that. And that, as a principle, it seems a jolly good idea, but I think you need to kind of explain how it works first, and also it would lend itself to doing it like a sort of a workflow or a process diagram, because there are, I think, 28 sections of possible things you might need to consider. And the first one on the list is, I think it's like terrorism. I mean, that's not the first thing. If you're going to open a bar, it's probably not the first thing that's going to say. So it's really just some sort of suggestions about that. And in terms of answering the questions, and I thought I shouldn't do this, should I? But it's just hilarious, because question 2. Do you agree with the statement, the inclusion of a model pool of license conditions will support residents, blah, 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 in, oh no, it's not the, yes, it was all about, about improving, one of these, it's about improving, promoting responsible business and making Woking thrive. I thought, well, I probably wouldn't go as far as saying that. It will make life easier for people, but it was like, it'll change our way about. I don't think so, but it's as an idea, it's a good idea. I think also there's some drafting implicities in that, so they use a term called a model pool of license conditions, which they use again, and later on they call it a set, and it's quite confusing. But apart from that, there was another thing, isn't there, about whether we should take up the idea or promote the idea of this Angela, ask Angela and Best Barnum. I mean, again, can it do any harm to do that? But I think if
Some shops are already operating.
well, again, if you're going to do it, then the borough needs to get right behind it and advertise it, because it'll only work if everybody knows about it, make it so.
And also perhaps the town council should also be one of the centres that have that facility. I mean, they could go into the town council offices or even into Brown Bag.
And the final thing, which is, Matthew will know, this is one of my little things. The whole thing is riddled with spelling mistakes. And we need to just remind them that license with a C is a noun, license with an S is a verb. And it's just wrong all the way through, even within the same paragraph. And I wouldn't mind so much, but they are the education authority, so, you know.
And the license.
So, you know, I mean, I'm quite happy to spend an hour down there if they like and mark it all up, you know, it's good. But do we want to put a formal thing in? And I'm quite happy to go and put my point.
Put your point in, I would, yeah. I mean, I'm on the licensing committee for Woking Borough.
Yeah.
Bang my head against the brick wall sometimes, and I mean, I won't go into great details, but today I have just banged my head against the brick wall. I've applied for a license for a street collection for a charity. Applied to Brian Fennelly. He okayed it, gave me the dates which we could do it. I then put the license application form into Wokingham. They denied it. And they said, we've already got somebody on that date operating in the town. Now, where do you go first? To the town centre manager or to the licensing department? Why don't they work together and say, we've got this date covered, you can't have it?
Too logical.
Yeah. So I'm really furious at the moment. The fact is, the person who's got the date that we wanted hasn't even applied to the town council, the town centre manager. All they've done is they've applied to the Wokingham Borough. I've gone the right way and I've applied to the town centre manager, got the okay, thereafter applied for the licence. So no, you can't have it. So
You're not happy.
I'm not happy, not at all, so I will make that point. Anyway, that's not interesting. I'll just get that off my chest. Right, okay. Where are we?
What's the commission's decision as to whether to provide a response on behalf of the town council specifically?
Mrs. Pedant would do on her own.
Okay. Right. Where are we? 13. The LC Whip. To note, the Woking Borough Council approved their local cycling and walking infrastructure plan in March 2023. Infrastructure improvement plans specific to Woodley and the surrounding areas are provided in Appendix 13 for members' information. Any comments? Yes. Carol.
Yeah, this is something I said last time, we were talking about the LC, I said it's already there, so it's good we've got it down, but I think it's so involved that it's something that should be looked at outside of this committee, at working group or cycling Woodley or whatever, because there's a lot to go through and you can't just look at it in isolation because it's all connected.
Okay.
Why has it taken 8 months to come to the committee?
It was missing. It came into the town clerk's inbox, obviously, when we didn't have a town clerk, and was not picked up. But we didn't spot it. But sometimes we haven't been notified. In this case, we had been notified, but it was okay.
Fine.
Interestingly, I did look for it on the Woking site when we discussed it last time. Couldn't find it.
It's really difficult. It is very difficult.
So as far as we're concerned, you're thinking that you want more time to digest?
Yeah, I don't think it should be noted. I think we should be looking at the.
Right.
Well, really, it's a later agenda item, isn't it,
Yeah.
when we're talking about cycling strategy, but we've now got some brief to look at.
Good, okay. Reading Transport Strategy 2014, to note the Reading Borough Council are consulting on a draft local transport plan named the Reading Transport Strategy 2040. The full consultation document can be found on the link below. So again, the deadline is the 11th of December. Members are asked to consider providing a response to the consultation on behalf of the council. Carol.
Yes, it's all very fairly top level sort of sweeping statements that we can't really argue with because they make sense. But I think one of the things that I couldn't find in that, which I think is important, is the linking of any routes in Woking Borough to the other authorities. the borough, and they have been doing that with the LC WIP, but that wasn't made clear in Reading Transport Strategy. They were having a great strategy in Reading, and then you can't go anywhere beyond that. So I think having something that says linking with the other local authorities or other boroughs would actually make it a lot more sustainable.
Okay. Any other?
Again, just an observation. I mean, there is a lot of interesting stuff in there, which again, I think we can carry forward and look at when we're looking at the cycling strategy. Just out of interest, I did contact the borough, Woking Borough, and they're aiming to get their transport plan out, or, sort of the winter, they've said this year, early next year, with the idea of adopting it in the summer. So we'll be seeing our own one shortly. But it's all very interesting. None of it's fully funded, obviously.
No. Just while we're on transport, we're all aware that the Winnersh Park and Ride is going to be operating in Saturdays for a period, just as a trial period. There was a government grant that's enabled them to start that up again, and also Coppet Beach. There is one at Coppet Beach as well. So whether or not that will continue depends on usage. So we'll see how that goes. Hey,
What does it mean by decking?
decking. The park and ride at Winnersh Station was double decked. There was a need prior to COVID to add more space. So at great expense, a second level was put on that car park. And then of course COVID hit, people weren't using the park and ride, and it was a bit of a white elephant after that. So we had an upper deck that wasn't being used. They're hoping that it will come back, but I have heard that, we've got film studios at Winnersh Triangle, that one of the film studios is taking the top floor for parking. So it could well be that. I mean, there were suggestions that if we weren't going to use it, they looked at how to put some accommodation up there. Yes, they also looked at the possibility, which is another thought, of solar panels. If it wasn't going to be used, you could put them up and take them down if need be. But I think the last thing that came up was the possibility of one of the film studios using it.
Wonder what the payback on that's going to be, Bill. Beyond our lifetime, I think.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, that was a bit of a you couldn't foresee what was going to happen with COVID. That people were working from home.
But was there a water main or something in the way as well, and all sorts of things?
There was a delay in the building because of what was underground. I mean, we seem to be plagued with that.
What about the flooding?
Sorry?
What about all the flooding?
Well, that one upset the upper floor. That's a good point of building. That's its advantage. But that's about its only advantage, I think. Yeah.
It's not what we think it used to be. It's not down
No, it doesn't flood there, so it's a station.
Yes, it will be fine.
No.
Right.
Right. Any other points on the transport strategy before we move on? No. Right. Woodley design statement. Following references in previous meetings, the existing of a Woodley town plan. Members are asked to note the applicable document, the Woodley design statement, provided at Appendix 15. Had a chance to have a look. Any comments on that one?
Well, we'll need to have to consider whether we're going to update something, because clearly it's very out of date. And again, I sort of referred to you guys about the value of it. I mean, having read through it, my understanding was that this had been accepted by the borough as a supplement, and there were 2 or 3 things in there that I thought, oh gosh, I wish I'd known about that. Earlier on, when we've been discussing things here. So there was a bit in it, for example, about how new development should enhance the current infrastructure and quality of life. And I'm thinking, that whole Loddon Park estate, lots of nice houses, but no shop or a community hall, you know, and I thought if we'd had the opportunity to say what's going on there. And then also the thing about the town centre, about our town centre giving a sense of arrival, having a well-designed gateway. And again, that might have been something we could have referred to when we were talking about the library parade development, which is actually going to be a sort of canyon rather than something welcoming. So just looking at those two things, I thought I could see there would be some value in us doing it, although it does look like a chunky piece of work.
Okay, so we need more time to consider.
Well, I think what we need to do is when we get the local plan, whether that's the time that we look at this, so we also need to carry it forward. And actually, I would welcome some sort of feedback about whether it's a valuable thing to do, given that it will take some time, and how we would want to do it. But we've said here before, haven't we, in planning, that if we had something that supplements all the rules from national and from borough, but that addresses issues that we think are important for Woodley, and we could just refer to it, and the borough have accepted it, that it will be quicker and more efficient than discussing it every time.
Yeah, I mean, it is an SPD, but it's going back a long way. And I wonder whether it would be useful to have a planning officer come and talk to us about what we could do that would help them obviously get a better idea planned for us in Woodley, but what they would accept, because it's no good us doing a huge amount of work and then it doesn't count for anything. There's been these other statements that they've had referendums on, etc. I can't remember the terminology of it now. Neighbourhood plans, that's it. So we could obviously go down that route, but I'd be loath to do that if that wasn't going to be taken, used or taken seriously. So I don't know if everybody would agree to have somebody talk to us about it.
Do you want me to feed that in for consideration when the local plan has been approved and therefore when?
Well, it might be a good idea to do it now, because, if we're not going to do it, and if we are going to do it, we've got a bit more time to think about it, because I think we are different from a lot of the areas.
Because when, especially for the Woodley planning, because when we see the other side on the nearest, because Twyford station is near to Loudon side, and we need the bus service we need to see how they can get that one, how they can plan whatever, because is when we go through that one, especially for when we see the Sanford Lane, and then there is a new estate is there, the Taylor Wimpey estate is there. So I believe there is more than 500 houses up there, the new houses. I mean, mostly when we go there, always there's people are residents always demand, when they are planning for any bus service to the Twyford station, especially. So that's
yes.
They did the bridge across the river.
Because I know other hand, when we see, might be how the bus will go through, and then first will come to Kelman Road, and then they can go, they can't use the Sanford Lane. But on some point, I think they can use as well Sanford Road, because it's very close to one Davis Road is going to from the Sainsbury on that road to straight to the Twyford side station, because it's really the easy and quicker access for the one if they can find out some solution for the bus service.
Ready to transport. We'll operate if it's financially viable, and that's why we're losing buses, because they're not, in their opinion, producing what they need as revenue. We're losing a lot.
But again, we have an option as a town council to subsidise that. I mean, God knows what sort of money you're talking about, but it's not as though there's no option.
No. Working in borough subsidise quite a lot of routes, obviously, but as a town council, we've never done subsidies to the bus companies.
No, but
bus routes, but as the lady on our
our good councillor of course was saying, that we can change the world if we want to.
We need to buy our own bus. Okay. Item 16, transportation and highways, cycling in Woodley. City actions which need to be undertaken to achieve this council strategy of cycling as approved at the last committee meeting held on 17th of October, including considering setting up a subcommittee tasked with undertaking these actions. Where do we want to go there?
Well, just to say, I mean, I sort of knocked together, as we agreed last time, this little sort of summary of what had been done before. It seems to me it's really a matter of sort of flogging through it and deciding, what actions we want to take. And to me, this doesn't seem the sort of thing that you do here. This is the sort of thing that, you get the keen cyclists together and let them go through it, because at the end of the day, if we set up a subcommittee or a working group or what have you, they are only going to make recommendations. They can't do any damage, as it were, but they will bring it back here to say we've been through it. And I think it's also needs quite a bit of thought now that we've got the cycling strategy. We can see what's going on there. And just make sure it's all kind of harmonious, and also that we don't propose doing things that might become redundant or be inconsistent with what Borough are suggesting. I personally think there are some kind of low-hanging fruit here. We've talked about identifying sort of routes through round Woodley and so forth. How difficult will it be for us to get a decent map and just mark it all up? And then Rob took a load of photos that remember we brought last time, and it's almost like we need to kind of ride those routes and identify if there's anything that's a barrier at the moment. I mean, Rob had identified some things where we've got stuff growing over signs. And also, to look at things like dangerous junctions or what have you, although we can't do anything about that, we need to get that on the borough's shopping list, don't we? So I think, to start off with, it doesn't have to be anything expensive or difficult. It's just getting some work in. And the other thing is about engaging with, sort of cyclists in the area. And I know we've had a crack at that before, but I think, again, it's what you're asking people to do. So you're saying, would you like to come and have a meeting with us lot to talk about cycling? Like, I know the long winter evenings are drawing in, but most people could think something better to do. Whereas if you actually said something like, keen cyclists, look, we've got this drawing. Next Sunday, we're going to have a ride round. Would you like to join us and mark it up or split it up with people and give people something actual to do? And at the end of the day, if people then say, we're not that bothered, that's fine. We've had a look, we've given people the opportunity to do stuff, but it just is inconsistent with what we've already agreed on climate emergency. Not to give this a shot.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, because to be honest, there's, I think, 3 people that I know in this committee that are very keen on improving our cycling and are aware of what needs to be done. I, for one, am not a cyclist. So for me to sit here and say, I know what needs to be done, is going to be very difficult. So I do think we need to call on people who are cyclists, who know exactly where we need to go. For me to sit here, and I don't know whether I can include anybody else with a non-cyclist, I couldn't be of much use, to be honest. So, as you say,
what are our options, Matthew, in terms? What's the difference between a working group and a task and finish group and a subcommittee?
So there are two types of group really. The subcommittee, which is a group that's set up with a task that is envisaged to be relatively forever, might stop at some point, but it's fine. Task and finish working groups are there to consider a very specific action, which once that's been dealt with, it's finished and it will be disbanded. So normally the terms of reference for that group will have quite a specific task to undertake, or group task, that when that's done, that's finished. That's really the difference. So we have, for example, risk management subcommittee, because every year that needs to be considered. We've just set up a Wolford Park Leisure Centre development working group, because they're going to consider how to consider the future development of the leisure centre when that's been decided and their recommendations are dealt with. So in terms of kind of moving forward with this, the best thing to do, I think, from an officer's point of view, is to have a draft terms of reference developed, whether that's in conjunction with us or with interested councils that are very specific. That's what we found works really nicely with these groups now, rather than sort of vagaries, actually specific tasks, a bit like our youth services working group. That means the working group has something tangible, but we need to get these points done. If we present that then to the committee for approval at the next meeting, for example, that could be approved and members appointed to it. I know there was a discussion obviously about people who are interested cyclists on it. Standing orders dictate how you split members on committees by political proportionality. There is the option to suspend that particular standing order and include in the terms of reference a different split of councillors should you wish to do so. However, that terms of reference is written can be any way, so it could be a different split, an unproportionate split. It could still be 3 Conservative, 1 Labour, 1 Lib Dem. It could be anything that is deemed appropriate for that group. Again, that would need to go through on a vote to make sure that was approved. That's why it's best to get that drafted, brought to the next meeting and done, and go from there.
There's already terms of reference for the cycling working groups, I wrote them, that hasn't got the bit about the proportional representation, which obviously is important. So I don't think it would take long and shouldn't be inventing the wheel. It's there. It just needs to be looked at again. In fact, I thought it was brought to the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, but my memory is not good.
Definitely circulate the old terms of reference. You're right, there was non-proportionality. It had a very odd clause in it about making sure there was a minimum number of non-cyclists on it, which I believe the purpose was that, suppose if you have a subcommittee of 6 members that are all keen on cycling, they're all going to recommend big cycling things, and you don't necessarily get the balance from someone who may not. So having said that, I think you could consider that in terms of on that. A bit of an oddity as well. So
I think the balance will come by bringing it back to this committee.
Yes,
when everybody else goes, you're having a giraffe. But yeah. Oh no, that.
So I can definitely circulate those previous terms of reference as a starting point. If anyone would like to kind of then work on those and bring them back, as long as the chairman you agree with that, we could bring that to the next meeting.
I just like the sound of task and finish. Because I quite like finishing things, so we'll have a look.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so what we're going to bring the terms of reference back next time. Everybody have a shifty at it beforehand and see if there's anything they want to take in, add in, modify.
The one thing I add to setting up some of these groups is last year there was approval for council of, wherever possible, attempting to have these task and finish work groups or subcommittees meet during the working day. So we're at a stage where we've now got 13 subcommittees or working groups. This would be a 14th. And myself and Kevin will do absolutely everything we can to make them meet on everyone's schedule. It does get limited in terms of evening time for officers as well as people. So again, it's just something to feed into consideration that if it is something that people can do and fit, or take some time off work or whatever to make that money, that really benefits us as officers, because otherwise it becomes very difficult for us to fit in. And when that doesn't happen, then that's when we can't make progress with these meetings, because we can only hold so many at one time. So just to feed that thought in.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah. Okay.
Could I just say thank you to Julie for the work that she's done on that cycling strategy, because it has made things clarify things, and it's a good starting point if there is a subcommittee. Thank you.
This is all your. No, I don't cycle.
I think we ought to encourage you on to one.
Keep death off the roads, I say. No.
Okay, item B on this is Community Speed Watch, to receive an update. I take it David, not being here, have we got anything that?
Since the last update,
I have spoken to David actually because I need training on his kit.
Oh, right,
And
yes.
he was a bit, well, yeah, we were talking about, you know, sort of later on this month. Because I was away and then, you know, he's got quite a lot on at the moment, but
You're in touch with him, so
Yeah.
you'll be dealt with. Okay, very good. Highways issues?
oh, sorry, I should just mention that there's a bit about speed watch coming up in the Herald, next Herald, saying if you'd like to volunteer.
Right.
Yes, I assume David's organised that. Yeah, so.
I think I mentioned at last meeting, wanted to put it in there.
yes, and we've updated the email address is now speedwatch@woodley.gov.uk to try and encourage that.
Highways issues? Any highways issues that members want to bring to attention?
Usual potholes.
Yeah.
The weather's not making it much better.
So, no, definitely not. And if we've got frost gets in it, it's going to make it even worse. Yes. Well,
Thank you. I'm not sure if it's highways or not. On Friday morning, my phone rang and it was a resident of Duffield Road to tell me that there was a telephone mast being installed outside of her house. And she's had no notice and she was out there with neighbours and I was lying in my bed and actually did a group WhatsApp chat with her and her neighbours. And she sent me some photos. It turned out to be a telegraph pole. So City Fibre put up a telegraph pole in Duffield Road and Tippings Lane. I've just had an inquiry via Google that you should apparently do a 25-day consultation beforehand or something. And what they've done is they've stapled a note to each telegraph pole saying, you've got 25 days to object to this if you wish to. But basically, tough. And everything I've looked at online just says tough. They're allowed to do it. And this lady was upset, annoyed, angry, as was her neighbours. And I just basically said, I'm sorry, there's absolutely nothing you can do about this. And I do feel that City Fibre have run roughshod over the residents of Woodley and Earley and everywhere else they've been in doing these installations. And I think it would be nice if we as a council could write our disappointment to them as a company of how they've gone about this. And it's almost like they've, well, care very much about you, we're just going to do these things anyway.
Yeah. I think that's the true attitude.
Yeah, and I hope that people remember that and don't actually have this
Subscription with them. Yeah. Well. But they was very upset, and I said I'd mention it today, so I have mentioned
I wasn't aware that you could just stick a telegraph pole anywhere you like. So, you know, there must be some consultation, but now just the ordinary basic telegraph.
Wooden telegraph pole, you know, with the little steps going up. It's, I mean, permitted development or something.
Well, yeah.
Or
It's like we were discussing the masts last time,
Yeah.
you know, there is a presumption.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to warn people.
Well, with the masts, they
Yeah.
do. I mean, we had the Vauxhall Drive,
Yeah, that
which
was all.
we managed to get stopped. But I'm surprised that telegraph poles.
I just remember she sent me these pictures, I can find them and tell them.
City Fibre putting telegraph poles.
Yeah, I suppose it's in the 70s, but it says you have to dig so much, doesn't it?
Well,
So a statutory notice
I could have had. I wonder what they're doing.
regarding the installation of electronic communication apparatus under the
Why
electronic
would you do that?
communication code.
Prior approval, isn't it?
Yeah,
We normally get notified of prior approval, so I've never seen a telegraph pole be included. So it may come under some other legislation as more typical street furniture, that's obviously regular. It's more regular than a telephone, mobile telecommunications mast.
yeah.
I don't even know if that was technically what it's
Well,
for.
well, perhaps they can't go underground for some reason, and therefore they've had to go above ground. But I can't see why. But Duffield Road?
so basically they just stuck it between the two houses
No.
and they had,
That's way out.
that's Duffield Road.
Duffield Road.
And then the other one I noticed in Tippings Lane yesterday, when my wife drove past it. And it's on Tippings Lane, number 7, outside number 7, I think. In the cycle path,
Oh,
on the edge of it. But yeah, and apparently you're just allowed to do this if you, see if I can find the relevant wording.
Again, it's notification. I mean, it sounds as though there's a process, if they've nailed something
Yeah.
up. I'm quite interested in that whole notification. I'm in a sort of fruitless conversation at the moment with the borough about the notification process around the traffic regulation orders and how that all works. Again, I think it's just something that's worthwhile us finding out how it works and then working out how we're going to tell people about it. But I think a lot of it is just people don't know and they feel it's all arbitrary.
Yeah, permitted development, up to 15 metres tall, wow. There's no legal requirement for any consultation period with local residents or businesses. However, if it is outside your property, that person has a right to object. We all have a right to object,
But when it's permitted development, it still means that it's gone through the borough for approval, surely.
No, it's
Just
necessary.
when it's
it won't
gone to
go-
permitted
It
development?
doesn't go to a committee, it's all officer.
No, yeah, I'm not saying it.
You don't need an application.
No, you don't need an application, but it's gone through the,
For prior approval,
yeah.
under permitted development ground. And then it may be that they don't need prior approval, it is just,
And you can't list it.
No,
Either, so it's
okay. Where are we? Any other highways issues before we move on? Community issues. I'd like to discuss any community issues.
Can I put a tent on the front lawn?
Sorry?
Can I put a tent on the front lawn?
The tent.
Yeah.
that's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then we get a skip bag with Nick. Right, and I use a skip bag to put over my wheelchair to stop it getting wet. So, because I have 2 wheelchairs and I'm not allowed to lift it in and out of the boot. That's why I need 2 wheelchairs.
You have a tent?
No, I use a skip
Use
bag.
a skip bag, yeah.
If I have a tent, it could be more permanent, can't it? But concrete the posts in.
Right. Publications and informations. To note the receipt of the following: Woking Volunteer Centre newsletter, Me Too Club newsletter, and the CCB e-bulletin, all of November 23. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go back now, just as a point of, that you know what happened. You remember we had all the problems where we had a lot of the residents here from 4 Coppice Road, and I think it does mention it in here somewhere that
Enforcement.
I was going to ask for it to be listed. Well, I spoke to Marcia Head, who's head planning, and she said it's very difficult to list because there was only 2 conditions that we were actually based on. So I told her exactly what the problems were, and also, of course, we had written to the council to object on some of the issues that were raised.
yes, and I've written to Marcia to raise concern about that.
I spoke to her, and she was arranging for a planning inspector, environmental health inspector, and an enforcement officer to visit on the 31st of November. They did, and just to let you know where we are.
October.
Sorry,
Do you mean October?
October. Sorry, that's all where I am. It's nearly Christmas, isn't it? And she's come back to me, and I'll just read you this. I just wanted to get in touch regarding the above enforcement case that I'm dealing with. The case relates to the alleged breach of planning control due to the porch being larger than the approved plans. Remember? I've been on site to check the measurements, and the width, depth, and eaves, heights are all in accordance with the approved plans. Therefore, there is no breach of condition because of this. So I will be closing the above case. Now, I understand that this case was raised in relation to the parking on the site. The works are currently ongoing, and there is a condition that states that 3 parking spaces will need to be provided Once the works are completed and there are not 3 parking spaces, but I think you can see that there won't be, then a case can be opened in relation to this. But for now, there is no issue. So we've got to wait until that's done. I just also wanted to update you on another enforcement case, which refers to the use of this house as a house of multiple occupancy, as we're concerned over the number of bedrooms. I visited the site, and the site does appear to be currently occupied, though it is unclear on the number of people living there, so I need to establish this. I will let you know if I have any further updates. I will send a letter to the owner to tell him to cease the building works whilst the investigation is ongoing. The environmental health team also have concerns, so I'll be working in collaboration with them to try to solve this. So they're on the case that it is. So it might well be that it does prove to be an HMO, then some action will be taken, and also on the parking issues. So I did go and visit the residents, the ones who were here at the meeting, to tell them what actions was being taken, that there was going to be a investigation, there would be officers on site. I haven't been able to get back to tell them what happened. I don't know whether they've been notified, but we can do that anyway.
Just on that point, today we've received 2 notification letters regarding the property from Woking Borough Council about 2 of the applications. The first being the application to vary conditions 2 and 5 of planning consent. This proposed erection of a single double-storey front, side and rear extensions to existing dwelling following a lot of conversion works and demolition of existing area. I won't read out the whole one, but that was part retrospective. The second one was about proposed engineering works to the rear to create a lower patio and boiler house. Again, part retrospective. Both those applications have been withdrawn. So the decision, there is no decision from planning on it.
Right.
Those 2 applications have been withdrawn. They're obviously due to come to next committee for noting, but because you brought that up before, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, I think we've had the desired effect at the moment. Hopefully, you know, we can get this resolved. But there we are. Okay. The future agenda items. Anything that we need to put on the agenda? No one? Publicity and website. Consider suggestions for the items to be publicised.
I mean, again, it's a sort of question really. Am I right in thinking Janet's charity is Lunch Bunch this year? It's just that they're starting their sort of collection of stuff for the next school holidays. So, I mean, is that, you know, would that be something that we could put on the news bit, Matthew?
It is. There's an element of, you know, we do anything we can to kind of help promote, especially if it's linked to the council. There is a limit again to the amount of pushing of other people's news that we generally can do, because otherwise our news stream becomes just a wealth of other people's stuff. In terms of the fact that it's with the mayor's charity, I don't see why it's something we can't do.
Well, you might just ask Janet what she thinks. You know, but I just thought, as you know, they've started their sort of Christmas holiday push with requests.
I'm sure we can have a look and see what we can do about that.
Right. Enforcement issues, page 71 and 72. Any comments on those? Anything that we need to be aware of? Where are we? Yeah. It said it's part of all issue, not planning. That's not. Planning. Nothing really there. I don't think it was we're quite happy with that. Okay, at that point, close the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance and your contributions.